There we go. I believe we are live.
Yay.
Yay. Good morning, lovely people, and good evening to you, Lori. I am
Hello.
so stoked that we finally connect after all these, I don't know how many years it's been actually. Before I get you to introduce yourself, I want to say a very warm welcome.
Thank
I'm
you.
so happy that you're here. And,
Thank you. So nice to be here. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's been such a long time coming for the two of us to really connect. We've been in touch and in each other's lives for a couple of years now. And I want to tell the story very quickly before I hand over to you. It's the lovely Tanya Rose, a really beautiful friend of mine who connected us and actually sent me on a lovely journey that you facilitate that I'm going to ask you to share a bit more about later on as well. And I have been on the journey with you and have to say I'm in absolute awe of what you have put out there. And so before we go into all of that, I'm already giving you a couple of previews away, a bit of a sneak preview. I would love for you, Lori, to introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, thanks for having me, Marie. It's like a long time coming for sure. I think we started like trying to plan this maybe like last fall or something.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's been a while. I know, like October, November, and it's finally all clicked. But so I'm Lori Hamann. Yes, all in divine timing. So I'm Lori Hamann, and gosh, I've been a coach, light worker, healer, course facilitator, personal transformation coach. I don't even really have a title, right? I just coach, right? But I've been in the field since the beginning of the days. Coaching became, I want to say recognized about 20 years ago. And that's when I showed up on the scene and I'm like, what is this? What is this work called coaching? And so I went off on my journey to build my practice and develop my come from, my philosophy, my teachings, and just one step at a time, one little breadcrumb at a time, have just grown myself as I've alluded to, but like I have just grown myself and grown my practice and met some amazing human beings along the way, yourself included, and many others. So I'm very blessed to do what I do, and I get a chance to really do some like amazing work with people, and it's amazing, So I created, and I think how you came to me is through the Manifestation 100, which is my group. And we journey through 100 days of intentional creation. So when I say intentional creation, some of you might be familiar with the law of attraction. Some of you might be familiar with conscious creation, like that kind of terminology. The I create my reality. My life is an inside job, right? Like how I feel on the inside of me. As do I create. Yeah, my life is an inside job. So
I love it.
So over the years, I've just developed my processes and my courses and my group work, and I've had a chance to really, and I'm very blessed to have touched a lot of people's lives as they have touched mine, and it's really through the work. It's powerful. So, and I have 4 babies. I have 4 children that are not babies anymore.
I'm like, babies?
No.
I think your daughter is like same height like you, if not taller now, isn't she?
No, my son is 6'4" though. He's a big one.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah. Oh. My kids are 21 to 13. So all in the range, I know. So I'm busy and blessed, and and I love the work. And I do, like, your work calls you to do it's based on personal transformation and evolving through our challenges and working through our losses, and I work through mine, as so do my clients, and so it all is about personal transformation, so that's what I do.
I couldn't agree more. I thank you so much for this beautiful introduction, because we've been on each other's radar for a while, but it's actually the first time today that we connected via screen in person. And
I know.
you know, we were in a group chat together for Tanya and like all these things, but it's the first time that we actually spoke eye to eye, which I was so excited about it, because, you know, I absolutely love what you do, and have been like watching from the sidelines and participating for quite some time. And I wanted to share that as well. I said, your 100-day journey, I was just like, oh my God, this is just amazing. You know, having 100 days, it's such a huge commitment. And I've done my own journey that I came up with when COVID-19 hit, and there was this wave of negativity and fear going around the world. And I wanted to counterbalance that and came up with 100 days to tell the world. And I committed to it. And that was my own personal story. It had nothing to do with business. And I just picked one beautiful person that has influenced my life, or is influencing my life in some sort of way, every single day, and shared about them, because I wanted to put love and positivity out there. So that even added to my, oh my God, you've been doing this for how many years now? It really made me think of you. I'm like, this is
that's so funny.
The commitment that comes with it. Yeah.
So let me just soften that a little bit, because I'm not that big of a rock star. Okay, like not that big of a rock star. So when I developed the 100 days that you're talking about, right? Those video guided days with the lesson and all that stuff, that is tucked inside a program that I call Masters Academy, right? And so we walk through that consistently, like, you know, every 100 days. And it's like the backbone of, backbone's not the right word. I mean, it feels like every piece of the philosophy is like a little piece of the stained glass window dome that we're inside of in our life, that we get to look through at any time, you know, to have a certain lens that we look through life. And so every lesson is like that. But the first 100 days that I did, that you experienced, was every single day. I got myself up, I created and I downloaded, and I basically almost channeled this teaching. And it was a labor of love like no other, to get up and to do that.
Absolutely. And so, I felt that when you said that, even when you did it, so much love and commitment in there. It's amazing. Yeah.
So now in the Masters Academy, I'm still using those particular first lessons that I did. So I don't do a whole new video every day, because a person only has so much, you know, time and stuff like that. So we still use those. So I'm like, it was amazing in that 100 days. Yes, to that journey. But I also do use them as we go. But in my group in the Manifestation 100, we do a version of that too, where we come with like a lighter lesson, and we do some focus groups, and that still is just like, you know, you just show up to the work and the philosophy, and kind of make a choice to, I think, I don't know, my word is unwavering. You know, you have this like unwavering commitment to your transformation. And so thanks for the kudos though, because it really is a labor of love, you know, to show up that long, that consistently.
A huge commitment.
It is a commitment.
Because the thing is, for you, it was like a step into a program as well, you know, and so obviously you had a huge commitment to your own work and to bringing your work to people who really need it, which I so appreciate. And for me, it was just something that I chose. I'm not saying for fun, but for really, I just had this, I wanted, it was like an act of gratitude really, and an act of balancing what was going on around the world. And I had such a huge commitment for that. And though I had this massive commitment, I still had in those 100 days, probably 3 or 4 days where I was like, oh my God, I didn't do this, you know, and then I did 2 the next day, and I'm like, oh my God, you didn't have that chance. You had to do that, you know. I don't know how you saw it, but
there were times when I was like, it's almost midnight, but I'm getting this done. You know? I'm getting this done.
Exactly. And I think I only missed like 3 or 4, and but still, I really loved it.
What was the shift? What was the shift in you that happened? Like, I'm curious now. I just want to ask you that question, because I had a huge shift in me after that. got to day 50 and I had a big shift.
In the 100 days, as in when I did yours?
When you did yours.
Oh, when I did mine, as in, okay, that's a good one. So for me, there was definitely two things. One was around the commitment, which is really big. It's such a huge lesson in commitment and what it actually means, and knowing that it was big, but you only realize how big it is when you go through it. I announced it in the first one that I did, that I am committing to 100 days to do this. And that was, a big thing for me. And I felt this, it really had a huge impact on me, what commitment really means. And, that bringing in your reason why, that's huge, because, in the coaching world, that is a really, really big thing. As in, what's your reason why? If your reason why is not strong enough, it's not going to happen. So it really, I had to remind myself a couple of times, why am I actually doing that? Why am I so committed to this? Why do I want this? And it was really that global idea for me, that balancing something globally. And if I don't step up, who else would? And if I step up, it had such a ripple effect. It was so beautiful. I did not think of the ripple effect it would have when I first started it. And the ripple effect of love that came in, of people then jumping on. I was obviously attacked these people that I chose. And then their friends and family chimed on and added their love to it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I didn't even think of that at first. So the ripple effect, the commitment, but then also transferring that into my movement, as in the commitment and the ripple effect, that global ripple effect that I am going for, because I'm on a mission to build an army of love to heal the world. So, a little mission that I've got there.
Just a tiny one.
Just a tiny one. So it really had an impact on that in terms of my alignment, how to feel aligned with what you do and really step up for that. And there was a lot of mindset stuff that's been happening throughout the journey, and I love it. I love
hearing that. I love hearing that. I had very similar shifts too. And I remember well, I went through it, and there was like this day, I remember very clearly, this day 50 mark, and I was completely plugged into the global like ripple effect. But at day 50, I was like, oh my goodness, like I shifted into a different, more like empowered, more willing aspect of myself that was willing to be heard and honored myself in a different way, And so I got at that point, I was terrified of being seen, of being on video, of having not saying the right thing. You know what I mean? There was a lot of noise in there. And I just got willing
to across at all. I can tell you that.
True story. And I remember being like, wow, it took me only 50 days, but I like exercised this muscle of showing up every day. And for me, it was really grounded in and this is if someone was asking me to work with them, either privately or in a group, if they said, how do I deal with loss in my life, or I've got this loss, like I would start them exactly right here. And it's where I was with myself, even with those 100 days, it was like, I'm doing this in the name of deep self-love and appreciation, and I'm really going to nurture myself even through my own work. So I always say, like, my healing, my transformation, comes through the work, through the philosophy, through the toolbox. And even in the creation of my work, I shifted myself, So I remember that day 50, I was like, I am in a different place today than I was. And they are not kidding when they say baby steps, about these little incremental steps. And all of a sudden you get to a new place. So it was a moment. It was one of those moments where I said,
what a milestone.
It's
so beautiful. I love that you share that so openly, because it really, like, often, what people see, what people perceive is sometimes just so the surface, and what's going on underneath. I'm actually having goosebumps just saying that. There is such a transformational journey. And I, when you just asked me that when we had our quick pre-chat of how long I've been doing this, and I've been coaching since 2011, but I started this movement only 9 months after I lost my husband. So I hadn't even done that full year that everybody talks about, you know, all the first milestones and all of that, because I realized not even halfway through that first year, and I share that with you as well. I wrote a book about how I addressed my own loss, and my go-to was what my husband had actually taught me, that the two choices, you know, you can choose every single day. And my choice was, do I go into sadness and grief, or do I go into happiness and creating something that we wanted for our boys together? And we always said that to each other. If something wants to happen to us, we want the other person to find love and happiness and joy again in life, and do that for our boys. And we wholeheartedly meant it. Yet, of course, we both thought it was theory. You know, we never thought that that could happen at such a young age, at the prime of his life, and completely healthy, actually. So when he passed from his brain aneurysm, it was just, I just knew quite instantly, this is the moment we've been talking about. It was such a, I can't believe this is actually happening. And when I started this, it was like, I felt I was always only ever a couple of steps ahead of most of the people. I can't speak for everyone, of most of the people in this very movement here. And that was enough to be like fully in my authentic journey of transforming through that myself. And then whatever I learned from it, passing that back. So it was a very, all you ever need to be, you know.
Yeah, that's all you ever need. That's all you ever need to be, because you know, I always tell the coaches that I coach as well. I would just say, you know, you can't take someone where you haven't been, you know. And so if we can, and so if we can just be even one step ahead, and it is so true, because my grandfather used to say the same thing. He would say, I was talking to him about college one time, and he said to me, "You're going to live those days anyway, so go." You know. And it comes down to the two choices. You're going to live these days anyway, so which way are you going to do it? Are you going to up spiral? And your word is up spiral, and I use that a lot too. But you can up spiral.
I love it. I didn't know that. I love it.
And you can either up spiral or you can down spiral. And I mean, and it's so true. We're always like, so you can go to college or not. You got a choice. You know what I mean? You either do or you don't. You either, you know, you stand in fear, or you stand in love. You stand in abundance, you stand in prosperity, or somewhere, you know, you have this like, baby, you have this like thing, you know, we got it. So like, there's always two sides of the equation, and we get to pick which one we're going to be on, no matter what.
I love it. I love it.
And I know that they, you know, I've had losses in my life too that have been, you know, enormous, and mountains that have felt like difficult sometimes. But I always think back to myself, my most important thing is my alignment, and what am I going to choose today? Because my circumstance is not always in my control, but my alignment is always in my control. And when I take that ownership, I take that responsibility, then I have the potential, I've got the possibility to actually shift my outcome, and shift my joy, you know, and shift my healing. That's where
I
healing
could not agree
happens
anymore. And I'm so glad, because we touched on that as well when we had our little pre-chat, and I was so stoked when that came up, because I understand this is a huge topic where I'm going to take you now. And I couldn't think of any better person to unpack that with than you, because we came across this topic that you just touched on, as in how much of our life is really predestined. And it's been a big topic for me the last couple of days. I've chatted to so many people about it, and of course it comes up again with you now, which I love. That question, you know, how much of our lives is really predestined, and where do we have the choice? Where is the freedom in choice? What can we, so anyway, there are a couple of different questions that come up for me, but I'd love for you to unpack that with me. What is your take on, there is a path for us that is predestined, or where's the choice in that? I'd really love to hear your take on that, because it is a bit of a touchy feeling for a lot of people in here. So,
well, as a conscious creation coach, right? Like, it would be my job to tell. I'm going to give you an answer that is probably not what you expect.
Thank Bring it on. I love it. I'm just looking down because I want to see if there are any questions around that while we are in.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, that's great.
I'm going to have that open on my phone. If people want to ask us something, go ahead.
So my take on that is, like, as a conscious creation, create your reality type inside job coach, right? Yeah. Your life is this like mirror of your inside. Yeah. One would think that I would say, you like no destiny, no path chosen. But my personal take is that I've had such profound life experiences that would suggest something else. And I've had unfoldings that that I wouldn't say are will-based, but I do think that, like, my inner being is in cahoots with, my other soul partners, my other soul people. And sometimes there are things that are predestined that we are supposed to have the experience of. And typically they're massive, culminating, huge, big events for us that change the face of our reality, right? Yeah. And our egos, our minds, like to judge those things as horrible. I would have never created this. But the soul is like, well, you think so not, but we're here to have this beautiful life experience. And that's you have the entire gamut of emotional opportunities, from something that feels like so much grief and pain all the way to something that feels so joyful. And so just to have this, like to respect the entire emotional spectrum, and to for me to say, I think that was part of my path. That was part of my unfolding. And I don't think that if I have an experience with another human being that I created it. I think that I'm a co-creator with it. And I do think that some of our experiences were written in the stars, so to speak, and I think that there is a divine timing, and I think that there is our time. And I do think we meet people at certain times and have experiences and loves and losses and, opportunities for growths and expansion. And I know it's easy for me to like carry on about the la-ness of this when, when you're in the thick of it, it's painful. Yeah. But yeah, I do think that there are some things that feel very meant to be and good and bad, as judged by my mind, as judged by my ego. And I do think that there are things in life that we manifest and that we create, and that we, as we work on our alignment. But what my take is that no matter what, whether it's true or not, I don't even know that it matters, because the prescription is the same. Whether it's this divine path or it's that I manifested, something in my life that I either loved or that I was challenged with, the prescription is always the same, and it's coming back home to yourself and finding the alignment always. Yeah. Like, so people say that to me, what do you believe? I'm like, I believe in that there's some predestiny, totally. But it doesn't matter, because the prescription is the same. It's not like we do it differently. The prescription is the same. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love this so much that you share this, because it really, there's so much freedom in that as well. It leaves so much space open for everyone in this movement here as well.
Wherever you want to be.
Exactly. It's your choice where you want to be, and it's also your your background, your upbringing. There's so many layers that come into that, and different beliefs, and even to bring it back to business, even in my group rules, I've got, can you please accept and appreciate everybody comes from a different spiritual background, and some people got a rather Christian or very Catholic background, others the very spiritual, the Buddhist. I've got everyone in this group here, and I really love that we can leave religion, beliefs, spiritual backgrounds out of this, and just appreciate that we are all in here because we're looking for healing, and we're looking for that loving life after loss part. And that, I believe, is why people come here into this group. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for love and support and healing and hope and joy. And for me, I obviously had my own huge journey, as you can imagine, working through and processing through the loss of my husband, and what I have come to. And I've never shared this in such clarity as I'm doing now. And I feel now is the perfect moment to do that. I literally have come to the absolute understanding from my past that Rob and I had a soul contract, and that he has fulfilled his part of the contract, and I'm fulfilling mine now. And that is not to say it's like, and that's the end of it, and I'm done healing. That's, you know, it sounds so simple, yet it was a profound understanding for me, and actually came through the book Sacred Contracts. I don't know if you've heard about it or read it, but Carolyn
Mice. Yes, I know that.
Yes, exactly. And I also have to say, through listening to that book, I've got it as an audiobook, it not only highlighted that understanding for me and made it even clearer than it already was before, because I already had that before, and that's why somebody said, oh, you should really read this book, and it just added to my whole story, which I really loved. And really it was like that sealing, the healing for me. And it also healed my relationship with my mom. I was like, oh my God, it's not just my husband, it's everyone. It's basically everyone I meet in my life. And there are obviously people who play a way bigger role in your transformation, in whatever you have chosen to experience in this lifetime. Yet all of a sudden, it added to my whole understanding of what Rob and I had, as in, oh my God, even his passing was done as an act of love. I was like, oh, that really had a massive impact on me, as you can imagine. It gave me so much peace and so much healing, and it was really, really beautiful to understand that on a soul level. I really did. And it's the first time I'm actually sharing that in this group here. So
that's powerful.
Wow, it's very powerful. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm feeling you. I do believe in soul contracts. Very much so.
I would love to bring that back to what is your approach in when people come to you and they have to work on their own journey of loss and healing. What can people expect when they come to you? Because obviously at the end of this interview, I'm asking you to share some of your links so people can actually connect with you. If I'm a big believer in connecting people, and if people listen to this interview and feel like, oh my God, I need to do this journey with Lori, or I want to talk to her, then please, you know, I'm going to ask you to share some of your links so people can connect with you. But if you can give us a bit of a sneak preview, if people come to you, when people come to you, how do you approach it?
Well, you know, I think so the way that I work is very intuitive, right? So I do a lot of teachings, and let's say it depends on what you want, you know? I mean, there's some basics, you know, there's basics when you walk through the door. But let's say if somebody walked through my door and said, you know, I've had a loss of a loved one. You know, I want to work with you on like my own personal transformation. And I want that to include, you know, healing myself to the best that I can as I process my grief, right? My journey always starts with a very frequency, energetic, yes, emotional, spiritual, but very deep sense of self-love and appreciation, where you literally are being in a kind of nurturing of self that isn't something you've really done before. It's an absolute, like that unwavering commitment, like we were talking about earlier. Because where I come from, and one of my favorite quotes is by Abraham Hicks. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they said,
oh my God, like, she kept me saying for a long time.
You're like, so exactly. I know. So one of my favorite quotes by Abraham is appreciation of self and the appreciation of others is the highest vibrational match to source energy we've seen anywhere in this universe. And when I was developing like my work, because I always had people on this journey of worthiness and love, and I knew that it needed to start there, but I wasn't like keyed into like the frequency of that yet. I've grown in my practice to be very like energy based, and so that it's so true. So like my way is to say, we've got this vibration, and no matter where you want to go, and whether that's healing from grief or wanting to create love in your life, or whether you want to have more bliss in your own experience, or you want to have, some people could say, hey, I want to make more money in my life. What do I do about that? So it depends on like a bit what you want as to how I would like, work with you per se on that level. But it's like every single person walks through my world. And it's like, if you want to stand in your power, you have to work on your worthiness. And I consistently say self-worth comes first, self-worth comes first, self-worth comes first, because we literally are, we're so good at bashing our own worthiness and keeping ourselves separate from even our own healing. We don't deserve it, or we'll never get there. And I'm not strong enough. And we've got a lot of conversation around that. And the way to get back to, and that's the prescription. Remember I said, like the prescription is always the same to find the alignment. So for me, it's always the self-worth comes first. And when we're standing there, we're standing in our most powerful shoes, period.
Yeah.
Oh. And if we skip over that, it's like,
you say that so lightly. I need to highlight that. When we're standing in those shoes, we're like, how do you say it?
Yeah. We're standing in our shoes as the most powerful creator, right?
Yeah.
Like that,
It's so beautiful. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so like that's where I start. I mean, it's like, I feel like a broken record a little bit. And I also have to work on it myself.
We're hearing that for the first time from you.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes. So like even myself, I'm like, oh boy, I'm slipping, and that's because we're human. That's really just human. That's really human journey. Yeah. So I'm always pulling people back to what the frequency of self-love is, what what deep self-love and appreciation looks and feels like. And it's like, if you think about that first infant you ever held, right? And you look at that down at that infant, like, oh my God, you're just like the most precious gift, fresh from the heavens.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Drink the tea and not inhale it. Sorry.
We call that verschlucking here. What do you guys call that?
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You okay? Yeah.
I'm okay.
I'm gonna reach out and help you.
Pat on the back.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know exactly what I was saying anymore. What was I saying? Something about worthiness. But it's your first, it's your first vibration. It's your first energy. It's the first lens through which you create everything, including your healing journeys, including your journeys of like really unfolding even some of the most challenging ones, which is our losses of our loved ones, and that's what your group is geared to do, is to help, people heal and get to a place where you can have an awakening of yourself through that and come to see the gifts that are there, even though the grief may not be gone, but the gifts are there.
Oh, the gift part. I do need to talk to you about that. Because when we said that whole unpacking the idea of the gift, how do I approach this? For me, I actually want to go one step backwards before we get to that, because I kind of got sidetracked and then asked you a different question. But for me, when we said about the soul contracts and how much of our journey is actually predestined and how much is choice, for me, I'd really love to hear your take on that in terms of where do our choices actually lay, because a lot of people who have experienced a significant loss in life have the natural reaction of, well, I didn't choose to lose my husband or my daughter, my son, my dad, whoever we are talking about here. Where does my choice lie in that one? And I've obviously got my own take on that, but I'd really love to hear how you approach this.
Well, I certainly feel that we never choose consciously to lose anyone. Why, why we don't choose that level of pain consciously, but that's where soul contracts come in. That's where co-creation comes in. That's where I don't create, my grandmother passed away in like 2012. I was just thinking about this today. And I didn't create that. I didn't choose that. I experienced that. I experienced that. That was her soul's journey.
Yeah.
And I respect that as well. However, I am a fan of the 100% responsibility model, but not as a point of blame, but as a point of empowerment. So when I take 100% responsibility for my emotions, for my healing, for my, it's not like you have to take 100% responsibility for the journey of another. How can you? That would be taking their power away. It's not your job. That's their business.
Yeah.
But I do have responsibility and 100% responsibility for the choices that I make and how I choose to view things, how I choose to feel, the way, the slant that I take, my willingness to even like reach out to get support, right? That is a choice. Like I have a choice on how I'm going to engage in my healing. I have a choice about how I'm going to live. Circumstances are sometimes just circumstances, and we're experiencing with someone's soul unfolding, but it doesn't mean that we created that soul unfolding for them. And to say that we're responsible for it would be to be disempowering them, which I'm sure nobody would want to do. So I love
that you say that. Sorry,
You heard. Say again.
You just said I hold, and then I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Oh, I hold them in the highest esteem as powerful creators of their journey, whether they're at the beginning or the end of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard.
I really love that.
Yeah, it's hard, however, when we're experiencing it, because it's painful. And it's very human. So what we're asking as coaches, our clients to do, and sometimes ourselves in the midst of great stressors, great challenges, right? We're asking them to a little bit like become the observer of themselves. Like I can observe and hold and nurture myself where I'm at, and I can validate my human journey. I can validate my feelings. In the same breath, I can stand just outside enough of my own journey, human journey, to see myself from a broader spiritual perspective. So sometimes it's just like I'm responsible to broaden my perspective and honor my feelings. Can we be in both places at the same time? Totally, yes. And you have to honor both places, and you are that multifaceted. Like don't hold yourself as anything but miraculous and beautiful and powerful and great and multifaceted. And yes, to honor the humanness. And yes, you're a powerful spiritual being. So just allow a little bit of you to get that broader view, and it helps. It helps us use it in a way that can transform us instead of in a way that holds us in the same place. It allows us to go through the journey of healing.
Oh, you speak straight to my heart. I really love that, because for me, it is also pretty much in a nutshell, we might not choose the actual event of losing a loved one. But there are two things that I feel where our choice lies. One, in the very conscious human world, right here, right now, as in how do I respond to it? How do I respond to the loss in my life, and what do I do with it? And, one very, very powerful thing happened a couple of months after Rob passed. My son, my then 10-year-old, now 12-year-old son, said to me, I don't know how to say this to you, Mum, but our life has sort of gotten better since Daddy passed. And I was like, and he said, it's not because he passed, Mum, it's because of what you did with it. And I was floored. I was just absolutely floored by the depth of that. The 10-year-old telling me that after losing his dad, that he was so close to and absolutely loved and adored, to say that. I was like, wow, that's
incredible.
Because of the choices that I made. And that is one thing that Rob actually taught me, the two choices, and I loved it. And the other part that we said before, I do believe that on a soul level, we chose to experience a certain experience. We did not choose how to experience that. We did not choose, or I believe I did not choose to experience whatever I'm learning and transforming into now and making out of this. I don't believe that I chose, let's lose my husband at the age of 45 and do that. I don't believe it to that extent, but I do believe that we choose a certain path and certain elements in our lives that we want to learn, we want to co-create. How that happens then unfolds in our human existence here. That's how I feel anyway. And
I think too, it's like I think we choose a certain expansion, you know? Yeah. It's like there is a path and there might be details on the path. Yeah. Maybe. I always say, like, if it's true. I mean, sometimes I'm like, well, we made that up. But I mean, like that, you know? But I think that whole predestiny thing, I think we do, it is like we choose a certain level of expansion in our life. And that challenge can be absolutely transforming to your life, because it's what you do with this. I like to say to my community, I like to say, no grit, no pearl, because when I taught this class on no grit, no pearl, which is like dealing with the challenge, which is also the loss, you know, because there's lots of levels of loss, but it's like, how do I take this absolute crap that I was just delivered? You know, how do I take this such difficult situation and how do I actually make something beautiful out of that? Yeah, with intention. So yeah,
because again, it comes back to our choice. You know, what do I do with it? I love it.
I always start people with like self-love and appreciation and deep self-nurturance. I mean, I start them on a mission to say, like, even though I believe that our thoughts create our reality and our feelings create our reality, and we can choose healing based on where we point and the direction we choose. You get to say, my feelings are valid. My feelings are valid. My feelings are valid. And I'm going to stand there for as long as I need to. And when I feel like I can make a tiny shift today, I will. You know, and so some people are ready to go at Mach speed. Other people are saying, my feelings are valid and I need to sit here for a little while and let myself just gel and sit with this. And really then from that place, honor your unfolding. You know, you will be presented with people and opportunities and guidance and direction. And I'm really, really big on like, what's falling into your lap today? Well, I saw this quote. Well, I was inspired to click on this link, or my friend called me, or I woke up in the morning and I had this sudden like image come over me and it really moved me. Like being like I always tell you, pay attention to those that subtle guidance, because it will be the breadcrumbs from which everything unfolds. So you honor honor your feelings, but you honor this like unfolding, and you allow yourself to be like carried. You know, when I have been through loss that has been breathtaking, I've literally said, I've got nothing. So I'm literally got to just allow myself to be carried. That's all I can do today.
And that is big. I want to highlight that what you just said, you know, that allowing, like that's one of my favorite words that I use in pretty much all of my teachings, to get to this space of allowing, you know, allowing the healing in, allowing the joy back in. And also like that was a big lesson for me just over the last couple of weeks, to allow the flow to sometimes just to carry you, you know. And that was a big learning for me, because I'm such a doer, I'm such a rescuer, I'm such a helper. I'm you know, this is one of my big missions and one of my big reasons why I've been put on this planet, to help others and to share and teach. And in particular, when we are in that position, and I'd love to hear your take on that, we often are so used to helping, but really need to learn to allow help in, and to allow, and I think that's a huge thing in this very movement in particular as well, to allow others to help us and to reach out for support. That's what you said before. I really wanted to highlight that when you said that, allow yourself to reach out for help. You don't have to do this alone. And in particular with a significant loss in your life, we so often feel we're all alone in this, and we are not. We are absolutely not. And
and we don't want to be. Sometimes we don't want to be. We don't want people. It's like an inconvenience, right, for us to be someone's burden, and we've got to be making a choice to be like, I will allow myself to be carried, and I'm going to receive the guidance and the help and the support that has been offered to me. And sometimes that comes on the wings of the unexpected as well. So when I say allow yourself to be carried, it doesn't always mean, I mean, I went through a divorce, and my parents, it's in the last couple of years, and my parents were there for me every single day. And I got to the point where I was like,
beautiful.
I was just like, I cannot take, it is and it isn't. Yeah, exactly. But yes, I was at the point where I was like, Mom, Dad, you cannot help me one more single thing, because I just can't be like this, and at one point I just said, the universe wants to give back to you, darling. Receive the healing, receive the support, receive. And it's not just the people, but it's, the nudges, the whispers, the magic that happens for you, the guidance, this is really important for me, especially in the loss of my loved ones. It's the guidance and listening to the whispers from beyond the veil that are so important for me, to be able to like receive that and be carried and have that level of connection open to that for me. And that's one of those things. You may or may not believe that way, but it's just my own come from. So it's really important for me to let myself be carried. And if my grandmother wants to pay me a visit, I'm ready to receive her, because that helps my process. And it's always quite beautiful. So it's like, here's my personal journey, but like to be carried means a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of layers in that for me.
Yeah. And, for me, because my mission with Loving Life After Loss here is to really promote exactly that, the loving life after loss part. And I strongly believe that having that title for the group, it is a pre-selector for those to come in who really feel drawn to that, because I know that there is a lot of grief support groups out there that promote the suffering, that promote the stuckness, and that unfortunately really steer that ship in that direction where people just stay stuck and don't really actually get handed the opportunity. I actually reached out to one of the really biggest one. They've got like hundreds of thousands of people in the group, and I asked that question without wanting to, I had a really positive intention around that, and I said, why don't you offer actual help and healing in your group? There's so many people in there that need that, and I don't understand. And he said, but we are doing that, and I'm like, where? I had to pull back then, because I did not want to, I don't even know, but I just felt like, trust your intuition. My intuition said just beep, 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 like just move backwards here. And and yet every time when I spent like more than 5 minutes in that group, I felt so dragged down. I felt a heaviness around my heart, a hopelessness, a helplessness. And I'm like, whoa, and this is not even how I'm built. I'm very much positivity and solutions and healing and help and warm light and, hug everyone. And that is me. And I thought, all right, I've got two choices here. I can try to do something about that and say, look, but why can't we do this, and that? It's not even my group. And that to me would be I talk about this away from motivation. Or I can just focus on what I want to do and where I want this movement to go, and offer what I feel that everybody needs in this world. And that is hope and joy and love and happiness, and hope in particular, the hope that there will be something different, and the knowing that we can create that. So here are the tools. Let's do this together. Let's action something that for me is towards.
And the great thing is that you will attract the people who need your message. Yeah. It doesn't have to be the hundreds of thousands. It's like, it needs to be the people who need you. That's the most important thing. I'm going for 300
million. Yeah. I did the math the other day, like how many, I actually just had a quick chat before our interview here with a lady for a media story. And it's actually the very publication, Mamma Mia, that wrote an article about my movement, and it literally doubled the numbers in my group overnight, like within a week, I should say. And it is because people were drawn to that message, were drawn to that concept of loving life after loss, that it just had such a huge impact. It even became Apple's #1 trending news story. And we just had this chat about it. And I said, yeah, it was really beautiful. That really showed how people need this. And when I did the math for what I'm doing with my, building that army of love to have more and more people that do what I do to help others, because I can't do everything on my own. This is growing beyond me now. And I realized there are 300 million people every year affected by significant loss in their lives. And that is just the minimum estimate that I did, the minimum. And I'm on a mission to heal them. So it is really, I want to put it out there. It's not going to be me. It's going to be a lot of people that are needed to do that. And I believe the more we step up and the more we share that message, like what you do with your beautiful journey, the world needs people like you. And I just loved having you here. And I know we are towards the end of our interview, but I want you to really give people a bit of a sneak preview, if you're okay with that. The beautiful program that you mentioned before with the grid and
the Manifestation 100, the Masters Academy, the
which one's your favorite? Which one's the one that you feel that people actually need right now?
Oh my goodness. Foundation work is like the 100 days is a beautiful foundation work, no matter where you are. That is my Masters Academy. And I have a program called Prosperous Heart. I have a program called Synchronicity, which focuses on universal law, many little nooks and crannies. I have a program about belief systems. I think I probably have about 12 different courses that I've created over the last, I don't know, maybe however many years. But foundationally, if someone came in and said, I would like to start my journey, right? I would do two things. I would start either in the 100 days, or I would do my initial first baby step alignment program, which is the Butterfly Experiment.
Oh, the name in itself is so beautiful.
So the Butterfly Experiment, I actually just did it recently, and I do it live once in a while, but it's available for recording. But that's a program in total alignment. That's a program in finding your frequency, your energy. And it is a program. It's 30 days. It's 5 sessions plus 30-day journey. And what you are offered is you're offered an opportunity to feel the feeling of alignment, so you can get familiar with what that is so you can get familiar with how to get there. And it is through practices like self-love and gratitude and appreciation and detaching from your outcome and seeing yourself as we're all caterpillars becoming butterflies all the time, morphing. And so I created Butterfly Experiment back in 2007 when my daughter was born, just after my daughter was born. And it was really quite remarkable for myself. It was my own transformation. So Butterfly Experiment is kind of like a program that's Lori's heart. And then Lori took those first nudges about building my work based on what I call, certain concepts of universal law and certain philosophies, but that, expanded out over the next 10 years of my practice, or 10, 12, 13 years of my practice, and is really just quite foundational. So it's about metamorphosis, it's about totally breaking down and knowing that when you break down, there's a butterfly on the other side. It's like having that level of trust,
I love it. It's so beautiful.
So yes to my 100 days, but if I backed you up even a little bit more, I would put you in, I'd say, how about we manifest some butterflies? And by the way, you are the butterfly is the message. So it's like you are the butterfly. So those are the two. Those are the two that those are my starters. My starting points. So
what I would love for you to do, Lori, is obviously these interviews are the only ones that I always share outside of the group as well. So I will, for anyone watching this who wants to actually share this, it will be made shareable. And whenever the interview is done, I upload it to my YouTube channel, because that is the link that people can share. They can't share it from a group, as this is a closed group. So I'll share that link with you as well. But I would love for you, to bless where you want to put in there in terms of how people can contact you. Instagram, website, groups, whatever you have that you can share with us. You can put them all in, and just put them in different comments. So please do that. And there was one last thing that just came up. I know it's gone. Cool. I might have to put it in the comments when I think of it. But what is left for me to say is a really huge heartfelt thank you. I'm so grateful that we got the chance to get to know each other actually in front of camera and in front of all our audiences that will watch this, because I'm very much put it out there. Let's unpack this together. And I just absolutely loved having you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. We've got a very similar philosophy, and I love what you're doing, loving life after loss. I mean, that's just, and to call it a movement is incredible, and it's beautiful, and it is just that. So
thank you.
I appreciate what you're doing. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're one of those people I want to just, be able to sit in front of a fireplace with a cup of tea for a couple of hours and invite Tanya in as well. But it's beautiful.
I would love that.
Due to technology, we can do this, even though you're on the other side of this planet, and that's absolutely
Isn't that amazing?
I'm so grateful. So thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Any final words you want to share with our audience?
Oh my gosh, just thanks for having me. And it's just really a blessing to, to chew on this with you and to up spiral, because I really do believe what you said about, when you put the intention out there and when you hold the space, that even in this moment, this hour that we spent together, I think we have an opportunity to create change just by the space we're holding. So I definitely hope this was, if you walk away with one little piece, that's important. That's all you need. It's just one little piece.
That's what always happens in these interviews, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lori. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you everybody else for watching. And as I said, we will make this link shareable for anyone who wants to share this, and really, to be able to share this beautiful message with the world. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Have a blessed day, evening, night, wherever you are. This is Marie and Lori. Bye for now.